if somebody wanted to mess with your life, it would be very easy to do so. One of the first things that somebody's going to do if they're trying to encrypt all your files is they say, okay, where's this being backed up? If they can find that and encrypt that as well, now you don't have your files.
Welcome to the Jeff Glines Show, where success isn't just about the destination, but the journey. Behind every success story lies untold challenges and lessons. I'm Jeff Glines, and I'm here to take you behind the scenes with business leaders and entrepreneurs. We'll explore the real stories behind the success, the challenges, the late nights, and the breakthroughs. If you're looking for raw, real insights into the world of business, you're in the right place. Subscribe to the Jeff Glines Show on your favorite podcast platform. Join us for new episodes every week, and let's dive into what it really takes to succeed. Today I'm joined by John Siggard, owner of Superior Technical Solutions. Since 2009, Superior Technical Solutions has been providing businesses in Utah with reliable IT services with an average response time of 3.5 minutes, swiftly getting you back on track. John and his team are known for quick responses, plain English tech advice, and proactive solutions, helping businesses avoid costly downtime. And Superior Technical Solutions, known as STS, offers comprehensive services from network monitoring to customized tech solutions, allowing business owners to focus on growth and success. John, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you here. So yeah, it's been a while since we chatted. So yeah. I'm glad that we were able to get together and do a little podcast. So just a little icebreaker here. Where did you grow up, and did that affect you? Who you became and what you did in business?
So I grew up in Palmdale, California.
Okay.
I used to think of it as a tiny little town until I moved to Utah, and then realized it was, quite a bit bigger than most of the larger cities here. So I grew up there. My parents worked in the aerospace industry.
Okay.
So my dad worked for Northrop Grumman on the B-2 project.
Oh, okay.
And my mom worked at the financial institution there for one of the local aerospace companies there.
Okay.
So I suppose it did affect the way I kind of got into things, because my dad ended up introducing me to one of the guys that did a lot of the IT work there. He had his own company, and so at a young age I was able to go and essentially apprentice there.
Yeah, I had heard a story about your dad buying a computer and then you hooking up to the modem, and you were going to thought you were going to get in trouble or something like that. Tell me about that.
Oh yeah, so when I was born, my dad was working for NASA.
Oh, okay.
So on the shuttle program, and at the time NASA had this program set up where they saw that computers were going to be the future. So this is way back in 1982.
Okay.
And so they had this program where they're like, hey, we'll pay for half of your computer if you guys buy a computer, because they wanted them to have computers at home so they could be better at work working on their computers. And my dad kind of has a little bit of he likes to find loopholes. And so most people went out there and, they bought, computers were expensive at the time, but they bought kind of the cheapest computer, and then NASA paid for the other half. My dad was like, well, if you're paying for half, I'm getting the most expensive computer I can get. So he spent $2,000 of his own money. So it was a $4,000 computer at the time.
Wow.
Back in 1982, $4,000 was a
money.
lot of money. So I grew up with a pretty nice computer. But when all my friends started getting computers back in the early 90s, they started getting these games that our computer wasn't quite good enough to play. And so what we did is we figured out how to upgrade my computer, my friends and I, without telling my dad.
Nice.
And so my punishment was that he brought me over to, probably my dad was thinking, wow, computers are going to be the future. My son figured out how to fix this on his own. But in my mind, I thought I was, in a lot of trouble. So he brought me down to one of the neighbors who had a computer company called Allen Technical Services. And he said, you're going to work for him for as long as you're willing to put up with him, pay him in pizza. And so that's how I kind of got started in this whole thing.
Nice. That's what a great story. You've kind of found your niche early on in life. It sounds like.
Yeah.
That's awesome. A lot of business people too. I like to ask this question: is what's your morning routine like? When before you like during a work day or whatever. What's your morning routine, or maybe you have an evening routine or something? What's kind of your routine as a business leader and trying to stay on top of everything and health, wealth, and everything in between?
Yeah. So, are we talking about when I'm doing a good job, or?
Yeah, when you're maybe on your more impressive routines.
On my more impressive routine. So every night I go through and I take a look at what I have my to-do list essentially, and I pick 3 things. And I say, what are the top 3 things that I'm going to do tomorrow?
Oh, okay.
And that kind of stemmed from an interview that Jeff Bezos had.
Oh.
And he was, somebody was saying, oh, you've got so many things on your plate. How do you manage to get things done? And he said something to the effect of, if I'm making more than 3 decisions in a day, then I'm doing my job wrong. And I guess at his level, like the decisions he's making isn't what am I going to have for lunch. They're like big decisions.
Yeah.
But, I kind of took that as like, hey, if I can accomplish 3 things a day, if I can take a look and say, what are the 3 most important things I'm going to do tomorrow, then that's going to be a successful day.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the attitude I take at night. And then when I wake up in the morning, I do my spiritual stuff. I, say my morning prayers and listen to some spiritual stuff, scriptures and stuff like that. And then I'll take a look at my calendar and say, okay, what does my calendar look like today? Kind of get a plan in my head of what my day's going to look like. And then I say, okay, where am I going to fit in those top 3 things, and figure, my day starts taking shape, and I start crafting what my day's going to look like.
Nice. I love that. Yeah, I know a lot of business leaders they have some type of routine that either they've fallen into or they intentionally have that routine. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. So just so people can kind of get to know you too, what's maybe one of your biggest challenges in life that you've gone through your life?
See, that's so hard to really think about, really, Jeff.
Yeah.
Because most of the things that other people see as challenges, I kind of take the approach of, hey, life's just happening to me. So probably some of the bigger things that some people talk about are, like I have a son with special needs.
Okay.
He's 15 years old now. He's super happy. We've got this claw machine over here in the corner. He's 15-year-old that loves claw machines. He's essentially got the mind of a 3-year-old. Some people would say that that's a huge challenge, but it's something that we've just kind of had and experienced the whole time through. And so while it does complicate, it makes it so that I can't do a lot of things that other people can do, like we can't go on vacations and stuff like that. So that would probably be one of the bigger ones. But I try to look at things like, instead of saying, woe is me, and this bad thing happened to me, it's just, this is my situation. I've got my challenges, you have yours, and why is my challenge worse than anyone else's?
Has anybody had an influence on you to have that kind of thinking, or do you think it's just kind of?
It's a good question. I think I just kind of fell into that. It could have been. I mean, my dad's had a lot of influence in my life.
Yeah.
He probably taught me at a young age, stop complaining. He had a different phrase that he used, quit your... Anyways, we won't get into that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's a testament that, even as a business leader, you adapt and you just constantly are adapting, and rather than... You're trying to find solutions. I love that about the business community. Everyone's trying to find a solution to the problem.
Right.
You're solving problems every day, whether it be in your personal life, your business life, everything. You're always solving problems, big or small. But I think that's what I found. Yeah, a lot of successful business owners. So it's probably a testament to your success, as with your company with Superior Technical Solutions. Do you like to go by STS or Superior Technical Solutions, or?
STS is much shorter. It's so. I didn't think about it until the first time somebody had to write out a check for me, and I'm like, oh.
A little long.
Just write STS. We'll figure it out.
Nice. So, kind of jumping into the business side, when did you know? You kind of answered this a little bit, but when did you know you wanted to choose this type of career path, this type of business? When did you I really want to do that? I don't know if you went to school. Did you go to college or?
Yeah. So I actually ended up. So I had a job working at Primary Children's Medical Center as a network engineer right out of high school.
Oh, nice.
I went straight into the workforce, where most people, have to go through and get a degree in order to go ahead and get that. But what ended up happening is I served an LDS mission. And so if you're not familiar with that, the church that I go to, they encourage young men to go out and spend 2 years of your life kind of serving other people. And that's a huge character building experience, very transformational for my life personally.
Where'd you go?
I went to Mozambique, Africa.
Oh, nice. Wow.
And so when I left, I got permission from Primary Children's, or from IHC, I guess. They gave me a 2-year religious leave of absence.
Okay.
And then 18 months into it, they sent a letter to my home and said, hey, due to the job market, we're going to have to, give up your position unless you're able to come back in the next 6 weeks. And I was committed, and so I followed through with that commitment.
Good for you.
And so when I came back, I didn't have a position. And everywhere that I applied said, well, you've got the experience, but you don't have a degree. So I ended up looking around, and one of the technical colleges allowed me to essentially test out of most of my classes. So I was able to do a 2-year degree in 6 months. So, that's the path I chose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, that's awesome. It seems like now education doesn't have it just with the different generations now. It's not it's like there's so many different ways to learn.
Right.
Especially in today's age. What are you going to say on that?
I was going to say, I can tell you that I've learned, a million times more. That 6-month period doing that was very frustrating because most of it was basically just proving that I already knew the information. There were some things that I did learn, but I would say, in the past 10, 15 years, I've learned way more. Just based off of the School of Hard Knocks.
Yes.
I went to that school.
Yes.
I've been enrolled there for a long time.
It's a good one.
Just in connecting with other business owners. I think we met at kind of a networking group where we just went and we mastermind with other business owners for it was 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, 2 or 3 days.
And experiences like that have taught me way more than what I've learned, in other locations.
Yeah, I love that. What's some of the best advice a mentor's ever given you about the industry, about your industry? You have a mentor?
I would say some of the best advice directly to my industry was that I need to get to a point where I'm willing to delegate, to trust other people.
Okay.
In their abilities, and then coach them. It's very hard. A technician kind of has a mindset of, well, I'm the best. I know how to do it better. And it gets reinforced when you go out and you service clients, and they're like, oh my gosh, that was a miracle. How are you able to fix that? And so you kind of get this thing, in your head that, I know how to do it better.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got children.
Yeah.
So it's kind of that same thing where you go out with them and you're like, this is the right way to do it. Well, if you're the one always doing it, then they never learn.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're surprised. You're really surprised. I know we've talked a little bit about a couple of your sons, and it's like they come up with ways that you didn't even think were possible.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, that's way better.
Yeah.
And so being able to really pull out the talent of your employees is probably one of the best pieces of advice that I was given.
I don't know if you're aware of dual pricing or cash discounting for merchant services, credit card processing, how to eliminate basically 100% of your credit card fees. I've got a free guide. You can click on it in my in the YouTube or in the podcast description and get my free guide to eliminate your credit card processing fees. And also, too, I get a lot of people that talk about how they use Square or Stripe or PayPal and how some of these companies have frozen their account and they haven't had access to their money for 90, 122 days, and they're trying to get their money back. And save yourself some hassle and learn about how to eliminate your credit card fees and be able to have a service that is not these big corporations, but we're able to help you step by step with your credit card processing fees. Click on my link, get that free guide today. What have you learned from being in the in the IT field and what is it that people should know about the industry? What have you learned, and what people, businesses out there, they need to know something? Like, I'm sure you probably come across that. So maybe give us a little insight on that.
So what I've found, I've got a couple of friends that are cops, and sometimes it's fun hearing their stories. But generally when we're alone and they're confiding in me, it's like, man, sometimes it sucks being a cop because you see the worst of everyone.
Yeah.
And if you knew the things that I knew, then you would be terrified. And I kind of get that feeling sometimes. Like, I'm trying to stay on top of all of the latest cybersecurity threats and everything that's going on out there, and the level of exposure that people have. If somebody wanted to mess with your life, it would be very easy to do so. And the access that most people, like the protections that most people have, are adequate, are not adequate at all. Like, it's
talking businesses in general.
Yeah, businesses in general.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good analogy. I like that. It's my dad was a undercover cop, and so he had the same thing. I'm sure he had a different perspective in life.
Oh yeah.
And we were just kind of like la-di-da. We didn't really know.
Right.
So, when are you, John? When are you most productive in your business? What do you find?
For me, mornings are by far the most productive. Just me personally.
Okay.
I don't know if that's because I'm getting the top 3 things done as fast as I can.
Yeah.
Or if that's just my mindset of is much more clear in the mornings. As far as like time of year, one of the things that we started implementing about 1.5 years ago is doing 90-day goal planning sessions. So with every single employee that I have, we go through and we create 90-day goals. And we've got, there's requirement for them to have 2 company goals and 1 personal goal, and then they can decide on one last goal that they're going to be working on.
Oh, yeah.
And it can be either personal or company related. Generally, it's around education or something like that. We believe, firmly in continuing your education and staying on top of things. Yeah. But that's helped us maintain productivity year round and keep things going.
Nice.
It used to be that you'd make goals, in January and then for the year, and then they'd work really well for January, and then by February you're like, that was a goal, and maybe I'll continue on it. But having a 90-day period of time has been very, very helpful.
You hold them accountable after that 90 days.
Oh yeah, so we meet on a weekly basis,
okay.
And we say, hey, what are you doing to push it forward? So our 90-day plan is very structured.
Okay.
Like we go through, we take a full day every quarter and just say, hey, we're going to plan out what your 90-day goals are. We take a look at, okay, why do you want to accomplish this? What's it going to look like? Try and envision like what it looks like when it's done, and make sure that it's really something you want. And then we go through and we say, like, what's kept you from doing that up till this point? And what are some of the things that you could implement or that you could have us help out with that would help you hit those goals? And then they start building out, okay, what are the small steps that we need to take in order to do that, and kind of envision how that's going to happen in the next 90 days. Okay. And so that kind of gives them a task list of things to do. So on the weekly basis, we say, okay, what are the steps you're going to take moving forward? And so it helps maintain that progress.
And how have you seen your employees respond to that?
Really good. So to begin with, it was just, oh man, another meeting. I don't want to make goals. But as they've started seeing the progress on it, as when we finish a quarter, we go through and we say, okay, what were your wins? Like, let's look back and see what the progress has been. So as they've gone through it a couple of times, it's really come out and they've been able to see, oh, wow, I actually did things that I wasn't expecting on doing. And I was able to accomplish way more than I thought was possible. And so
build their confidence.
And so sometimes the next time around, they're like, oh, I'm going to do this. And it's like, well, that's really ambitious. Let's work towards it.
No, that's good though. Yeah, it's great that you have a plan in place.
Yeah.
Keep the employees accountable and whatnot. That's great. So if you could change one thing about your industry, what would it be?
One thing about the industry. Unfortunately, there's a lot of IT providers out there that there's not really a lot of regulation in IT.
Okay.
Anybody can say, oh, well, I was able to fix, this virus, or I built a computer, so I'm going to be an IT guy. And even there's people that, went to school 15, 20 years ago, learned about IT and said, oh, I'm an expert. And, they're not staying on top of the latest threats and stuff like that. Okay. So one of the things that we run across from time to time is we run across people who've been burned by other IT companies that are, so-called professionals. And so they are hesitant to enter into another relationship.
I see.
And so what we do, is we try and, it's kind of hard to overcome that type of a thing, but we try and offer them as much guarantees as possible.
I noticed on your website you had a little 21 techniques or something, or things to ask.
Yeah.
What tell us about that?
Okay. So basically we just created a list of things that you want to ask your IT provider so that you make sure that you get to make sure that you're getting somebody that's going to actually take care of your company. There's basically some standards that we believe every IT company should be able to do in order to make sure that they're actually taking care of your data, making sure that they're staying on top of the latest security threats, and making sure that they're putting you in a position to actually utilize technology and having technology work for your business instead of it just being, something you have to deal with.
Yeah. So this is a good segue question. So what sets STS apart from the other IT companies out there, or your competitors and stuff? What sets you apart? Maybe your distinct competence that you have at your business.
So I don't know if you can see that in the background or not, but like we've got some core values that we believe in.
We've talked, scoot over here, so we get the camera.
We've talked about a couple of them.
Okay.
But we believe in continuous improvement, like continuing education. We believe in exceeding expectations. We believe that. Just because we're doing a good job right now doesn't mean that there's not opportunities to continually improve that experience.
Okay. Gotcha.
So we're always looking for, we meet on a regular basis with our clients and try and help educate them on kind of what the current state of technology is and what cool new things are out there. But also taking a look at, okay, how's our service delivery coming through? Because sometimes your expectations of what you're looking for from an IT company don't match what our standard practice is. And so we want to make sure that we're meeting, bridging that gap, so that we can, increasingly raise that level of experience with our clients.
Okay.
So those are probably some of the big things. I think one of the big things when I was working for Primary Children's, like we had, there was kind of an expectation. It's a hospital. Like if a computer goes down in the NICU, one of the intensive care units, like they need that computer back up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And most businesses, if one of their computers goes down, you need that back up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But what I found with kind of the traditional IT environment was, I'll get in contact with my IT guy. And sometimes it's like, okay, I texted him, he responds back, a couple hours later. Like there's just this gap in response. So you mentioned, our first response time. We've actually got it down under 2 minutes now.
Oh, wow.
So,
online it says 3.5, but you got it under 2 minutes.
We've got it
That's
under
impressive.
2 minutes right now. So, but like we wanted to have that fast response. So our average resolution time this month, it slipped just over 1 hour. So it's 1.01 hours. But our goal is to have that average resolution time under 1 hour.
So having it completed and resolved in an hour. Wow. Wow. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. So we want to have kind of a, as seamless, technology is important to your business.
Yes.
Like we work with a lot of doctors' offices, and like some of those machines are responsible for putting out thousands of dollars an hour. Like if it's down for half a day, then that's, not only is that computer down, but sometimes that computer is, a cog in the wheel, essentially. Like it's part of the process of moving from this step to the next step to the next step to the next step. So it can shut down, an entire process and cost, tens of thousands of dollars. So
Yeah. That's great. That's great. Question for you. What do you wish you knew before starting your business? So if you could go back and tell yourself 15 years, you started 15 years ago about-ish? Oh, no. See, 2009. That's
15 years. So
Okay.
15 years here in St. George. I actually had a company called Siggard Technical Services.
Oh, nice.
Up in Ogden, Utah.
Okay.
Since 2004.
Okay.
So,
So what would you tell your younger self starting a business?
and I have to choose just one.
Well, you can give me a couple. Give me a couple ideas that you would tell your younger self.
I'm a very conservative person, and so I wanted to kind of operate my business without any debt.
Okay.
And so I waited, like I did a slow build, like slowly building until I had enough revenue in order to make sure that I was really 100% able to pay for the next step and not have to worry about that was going to make me any more revenue. And looking back on that now, there's ways that you can intelligently make business decisions that can help you leverage money and grow quite a bit faster.
Okay.
And from your background, you know quite a bit about that. So that's probably one of the things.
Maybe take a little bit more risk.
A little bit more
calculated risk.
Calculated
obviously.
risk. Yeah.
Especially if you're conservative, most people take more calculated risk rather
Yeah.
than just jumping in and getting a loan or whatever.
Correct.
Going for it. Okay, that's good advice. That not to be too scared of borrowing money, but at the same time be conservative in the calculations and whatnot. That's good. So, what's in your industry, in this business? What's your favorite thing about what you do? What's your favorite thing?
So that's actually shifted over the years.
Okay.
For me, like in the beginning, it was, being able to fix a problem that nobody else could resolve. Okay. Or when I came across a problem that was new to me and it was like, oh, I don't know how to fix this. Let's figure it out. And that was really cool. Lately, it's really in the people development, like developing my employees. Like I get a lot of joy out of taking my employees from, I'm here to punch a clock and I'm happy, to like being excited about their growth and the growth of the company and everything like that. Like so that's
I like that though. Yeah, there is a lot of I think a lot of passion in helping individuals, and even if they end up leaving, you've kind of helped them kind of launch their careers or whatnot, but always it seems like that karma always comes back to you.
Yeah.
What I've noticed.
One of the best things that could happen to me is if an employee has outgrown me and goes and does something else. Like, obviously it hurts the company just a little bit, like in the beginning, but that's short term. And it's not all about the company for me. It's about, what I can do for, like, these guys are my friends. Like, I really enjoy having them around, and I want them to succeed in all aspects of their life, not just
I love that
for STS.
Yeah. When it's not about just the money, I think the money just comes. Is what I've seen talking to business owners. But this is a good question right after that segue is, what's your motivation? What is your motivation in the business? What gets you up in the morning? What gets you going? I mean,
what gets me going? Probably. So I want to be able to provide, a comfortable lifestyle for my family. I mentioned that we haven't been able to go on vacations. So part of my son's condition is, like, he does have allergies. So that's peanut and tree nut allergies, which means flying's off the table.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because it's bad enough that we had one time where he was riding home on the bus, and somebody on the previous bus, like the previous group of students, had left, had eaten a peanut butter sandwich and left the wrapper on the bus.
Wow,
it wasn't on
that
his
allergic,
seat.
then.
Yeah, yeah. So it was close enough that he had a huge allergic reaction, and we had to bring him to the hospital. And and so my wife and I probably don't trust that they could clean an airplane enough and make sure that nobody opens up a a sandwich or snack that they brought on board. So I want to be able to provide a comfortable enough living that my wife and I can go do things with our son and be able to afford the added expenses to be able to do that. So that's the personal financial thing. Really, kind of like what we were talking about, it's kind of grown into that. Like, I just want to see people succeed. So I want to see my businesses grow. Like, we want businesses that are growth minded. Because if we can help them get to that next level, then that gives me joy. I want to see my employees grow. Like, if I can help them get to that next level, then that provides me the most amount of joy.
Get you up in the morning. That's great. I'm sure it probably evolves over time, like you were saying. It evolves over time. So what do you consider to be your biggest, who do you consider to be your biggest competitor? And maybe you look at it differently, but do you have a competitor that you're always bumping up against, or?
We don't really have competitors that we bump up against a lot. I've ran into a couple other companies in town. Like, I've got some companies that we've become great friends, even though we're traditionally competitors. And so that's been really nice. I think the market here in St. George is really good. Really, the biggest competitor, like, it's kind of a cliche answer, but I'm my biggest competitor. Like just overcoming or growing past what I was able to do, like constantly increasing our capacity. That's been the biggest competition we've had. Okay,
that's good answer. I think that helps to have people in similar industries and kind of working together. And it all comes back to you anyway, What have you found in your business? What networking methods have you found have been the most successful for you?
Networking methods. So we met in a group called Allies, and so that's been good to get to know people. I've been a member of BNI since 2009 when I first moved down here, and that's provided a lot of success. And we're part of a couple of networking organizations for within the industry with other industry people, and a lot of that is good for. I mean, with technology, it's an industry where you actually have another set of group of human beings that are out there actively combating against you. And so that's a great answer for your other question is who's our biggest competitor is, the Russian hackers, the Korean hackers, there's a lot of people on the red team that we're constantly fighting against. And without we don't have the resources of the U.S. government. to constantly know what threats are coming at us. But we do have, tens of thousands of other security professionals in the IT space that we can collaborate with, and we get notifications of, hey, we just ran across this new attack, like here's how they got in, or hey, we just ran across this. I don't know how they got in. Can people help me brainstorm? And so having that has been super helpful for my business in being able to help grow, get best practices, know the threats that are coming out before they hit our community, and being able to also find things that people are able to do in order to help utilize technology. So it's not all fear, but there's things that we found that have helped us help our clients grow faster.
So that brings an interesting question. I was thinking, what's one of the biggest breaches or fraud or attacks that you've had to clean up? I mean, without sharing like details, but just curious.
Well, there was this one. No,
but just maybe give us an idea of what's one of the biggest things you've had to clean up and figure out, and just basically. It probably doesn't happen in an hour if it's a big one.
Yeah. Oh no. It's so we've had a couple of prospects call us. They've become clients since then, but that have gotten hit with ransomware. That one's probably one of the bigger ones to clean up. One of the scarier ones is we had a company that somebody had actually gotten into their email system and created an admin credential for themselves. And so they were able to set up filters where any email that came in, that person was able to look at it first and decide whether or not it was going to get delivered to its intended target.
Wow.
And so they were able to take a look at, if you think about it, when you have to reset your bank accounts, reset, click, send an email to my, send a password reset link to my email. Your social media accounts, everything goes through your email. So they were able to gain access to that. And they were able to go ahead and see invoices that were coming in and going out. And so we've had a couple of instances now with different companies where somebody had used that method of attack to be able to intercept an invoice, recreate that exact same copy, make it look like it's being sent from that from the expected person they're supposed to be paying. They click the pay now button, they create a payment and send a $40,000 payment to the wrong person. So we've seen a lot of instances of that. So the scariest one would probably be an email intercept where somebody's got access to your email. And then probably the biggest to clean up would be like a ransomware type situation where
they have control of everything,
where they've corrupted all the files. And so if there's a lot of people that use traditional methods of backup, and one of the first things that somebody's going to do if they're trying to encrypt all your files is they say, okay, where's this being backed up? If they can find that and encrypt that as well, now you don't have your files, because that's the best way to get them or get the victim to pay is by giving them no other option. It's like, well, I've got this database that I've, of clients that I've been building up for the past 15 years, and now I can't access any of the work. So maybe I have to pay, the $30,000, $40,000 or $100,000 in order to get that information back, because my business is worth more than that. That's why it's important to work with a competent IT person, so that you can put measures in place that will prevent things like that from happening.
And cost you a lot less in the long run. I'm sure there is those business owners like, oh man, I should have, done that. So maybe give some advice to businesses out there, like why is IT so important? I mean, we've kind of touched on a lot of stuff, but maybe you can kind of enlighten and give some best practices that IT or that businesses in general need to have in place to make sure that these things don't happen.
Yeah. So I would say the first thing is do an annual review. Like have an annual network assessment or vulnerability test done to take a look and say, okay, what are some of the things that I could be exposed to, or what are some of the security gaps? Have a competent company come do that. And they'll help you kind of think of the things that you wouldn't be able to think of on your own. Like the email thing we talked about. Most people don't think that far in advance, or the backup situation. You know, people think, oh, well, I've got it backed up, so I'm safe. They're not aware that that's, you know, that there's ways to encrypt, you know, corrupt that backup as well. So that's probably the biggest thing, is doing an annual review. Now, if you're a larger company and, you know, it may be beneficial to do that more frequently.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. What surprised you the most when you first started in this industry? What surprised you?
What surprised me? I've got to go way back. I've been in the industry for a long time.
Since you were 17, right? Or...
13. 13, yeah. Okay. So, well, when I first started, it was how fun it was, because back at that time, you know, you'd go and load, you know, Windows 95, and you'd be sticking, you know, a disk in, you'd type in a line of code, you'd hit enter, and it would take, you know, 25, 30 minutes to run that program. Then you'd swap disks and type in a line of code. And so we would just play games while it was loading those lines of code. And I was like, this is the life for me. When I started my own company, I would say probably how little it took in order to impress somebody with your service. Like, the standard of service is so low out there that, you know, I felt like, oh man, I totally messed up that appointment. Like, you know, I should have fixed it a little bit faster or something like that. And people were, you know, ecstatic, like, oh man, my last guy took forever. And or my last guy, there was a Comedy Central skit about Nick Burns, the company computer guy.
I haven't seen it, but
yeah, well, it was kind of the cliche of IT support, where it was like, oh, you haven't done that, like condescending. And you know, just showing civility and like treating people as, you know, human beings. Like,
yeah, because they're not the tech geeks,
right? They're not supposed to know all of those things. They don't live your life. So.
Yeah. That's happened to me before, so I know exactly the condescending. You're just like, come on, I didn't know.
Right.
I'm trying to figure this out, but this is good. So, kind of wrapping up things here. What's one piece of advice you can share with the listeners today, with the business owners and people today? Piece of advice.
Like business advice?
Yeah, business advice, or it could be in the industry as well.
So business advice, I would say, you know, going back to that goal setting, like find an accountability partner, someone that you can share your goals with, and kind of keep in touch with. Now, a lot of people find that with a business coach, and that's a great way to do it, because then you're kind of contributing. You know, you're wasting your money if you're if you don't follow up. But you know, if you can't afford that yet, you know, find a good friend and like communicate with them, and like actually have a human connection and a human accountability on the growth that you're doing, and you'll accomplish a lot more.
Okay.
On the IT side of things. Look outside of the immediate cost. So like a good example I have is with companies. Occasionally I get companies that they want to run their computer as long as it can until it stops. But like if you have 15, 20 employees and it takes them twice as long to get something done, how much is that labor costing you?
I see.
How much is the disgruntled employee costing you because they have to wait and they're complaining about one more thing? So making a small investment to have a much better tech environment improves morale, improves productivity, and generally it makes it so that you're making more than it would cost you to actually have that.
That's great. That's really great advice. What's the biggest takeaway you hope listeners will learn from today? What's the biggest takeaway?
I don't know. We talked about a lot of different things. Selfishly, the biggest takeaway is do a security assessment. Go through and make sure that you're safe and protected. And whether they use me or someone else, really know. It's better to know where those gaps are.
Yeah.
And be able to make an educated decision on whether or not you should take that risk, kind of going back to that financial situation we were talking about, then it is to kind of bury your head in the sand and hope that it doesn't happen to you.
Okay.
On the personal level, we talked a lot about goal setting, have goals, have something to hope for, to work towards, and it makes life so much more exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that just don't bury your head in the sand. I love that advice. I mean, because a lot of people just think that that's the last thing on their mind. They don't want to spend money on it, especially if they're a small company. Maybe they only have a handful of employees. 5, 10 employees. But if what people are listening to today resonates with them, and you're resonating with them and your company, what would be the easiest way to set up what'd you call it, an assessment?
An assessment?
Yeah, to do an assessment. What's the best thing? Is there a website? Should they go to your website, give you a call, or what's the best thing?
Website would be great, stsutah.com.
Okay.
So stsutah.com.
Okay.
So they say repeat it 3 times. So stsutah.com.
And I'll put it on the screen for you.
Sounds great. Yeah. That would probably be the best way to do it.
Now, is there a charge for that, for the assessment? Do you have, just depending on the size of the company, or how does that work?
Yeah, so typically if you have 5 or more computers, then it's a good idea to go ahead and get it done.
Okay.
If you've got 50 plus computers, then there may be a small charge for it, just because there's a lot more work that is put in.
Just kind of case by case basis then.
And it's what we do is a level 1 pen test. So typically, a lot of companies will charge, anywhere between, several hundred to several $1,000s for that.
Okay.
But we like doing that as kind of a get to know us type of a thing, a value added.
Okay.
We want people to know what the risks are.
Yeah.
So
probably sells itself once they understand this is the risk.
Yeah.
Okay, so now you need to make an educated decision.
Correct.
I guess you can make an educated decision. Maybe last question is any good, maybe your top 3 books that you would recommend reading in the business world?
Top 3 books.
If you don't know 3, just give me 1 or 2.
So Extreme Ownership.
Okay.
By Jocko Willink and Leif Babin.
Okay.
Amazing book for the team, for you, for everyone. I love that one. And it's told, listen to it if you can, because it's 2 Navy SEALs that are kind of having this discussion about some of their experiences in Ramadi, Iraq, and it's a great book, but it teaches you great leadership experiences. And then they do a follow-up book, The Dichotomy of Leadership. And so I make my employees read Extreme Ownership every year, and we discuss it and talk about it.
Nice.
One of the other ones was Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life.
Okay.
Kind of just gives you a good, good handle on taking responsibility, making good decisions for yourself, and then Sell or Be Sold.
Okay. Yeah.
I had, and maybe that's just because, as a tech, I'm typically more introverted than, I put on a good face, but I'm very happy just hiding in my own corner and doing my own thing. Eventually, I had to learn that, not everybody would learn about my services if I was over in a corner doing my own thing. So
okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's been great, John. I appreciate letting me ask some of these maybe just different questions, rather than, I'm sure people can learn about you on the website as well, and learn about, you have a really good website, kind of goes through things, and free, like I said, that free booklet on tech stuff. And so, yeah, I really appreciate you taking the time and getting the word out there and teaching some of these up and coming business owners, as well as, just sharing business advice for the business community. So really appreciate it.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay. All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Jeff.
you. Go take John Siggard up on his offer and get a free assessment of your business for your IT services. He has an amazing company. Go visit him at stsutah.com. That's stsutah.com. You're listening to The Jeff Klein Show. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube and Threads.